Louise Dresser was a famous silent leading lady that was nominated for the first Best Actress Oscar and successfully transitioned to starring in the Talkies. But by 1937, she was retired. Why? Join me as I investigate. Louise Dresser was born as Louise Curlin in 1878 in Evansville, Indiana, to William and Ida Curlin. William was a railroad engineer who sadly passed away when Louise was just 15. Following his death, she left Evansville to become an actress and a singer on the stage, finding her way to vaudeville in Chicago sometime around 1894. There she met up with composer Paul Dresser, who some sources claim to have been either a family friend or a distant relative. Either way, she became his protege and changed her surname to his, pretending to be his sister, and in an act, sang many of his songs on the stage, making them famous, including My Gal Sal and On the Banks of the Wabash. In 1898, she married popular actor, singer, and songwriter Jack Norworth, who wrote such classics as Take Me Out to the Ball Game and Shine On Harvest Moon. In 1906, Louise moved from vaudeville to Broadway, making her debut in the musical About Time, playing Gertie Gibson and singing the songs The Gibson Girl and I'm Sorry. The musical then briefly closed and was retooled before opening again, in which she instead played Mrs. Astormont Vanderbilt, and this time sang the song The Same Old Girl. Louise was soon a Broadway star and starred in 12 more shows over the next 12 years, including The Girl Behind the Counter, Potash and Perlmutter, Hello Broadway, and Rockabye Baby. In 1908, Louise and Jack Norworth divorced, and in 1910 she married fellow vaudeville and Broadway star Jack Gardner, a marriage that lasted until his death 40 years later. Between 1918 and 1922, I can't find much information on what Louise did during this time, but I'm assuming she went back to vaudeville, as she was still performing there with her husband in 1922, as noted in a Variety article. 1922 was also the year of her motion picture debut at the age of 44, when she appeared in a supporting role in the Pauline Frederick film The Glory of Clementina. Later that year, she had larger roles, first opposite Milton Sills and Wanda Holly in Burning Sands, and then opposite Clara Kimball Young and Elliot Dexter in Enter Madam. Variety particularly praised her acting in Burning Sands. Louise was off to a great start in the movies, and in 1923 she had major supporting roles in 6 films, including Prodigal Daughters with Gloria Swanson. In 1924, she had her first starring role and top-billed role in a movie playing Mother O'Day in the drama The City That Never Sleeps, a tough lady that owns a Bowery saloon and tries to give her daughter a better life. The New York Times praised Louise's performance and stated, Miss Dresser is charming as Mother O'Day, lending the role sympathy and dignity. Variety also praised her and stated, Louise Dresser handles the role of Mother O'Day, giving it all that could be placed into the characterization by anyone. In 1925, Louise continued in starring roles, giving powerhouse performances in critical and commercial hits. First, she starred as a title role in The Goose Woman, a former opera diva that is reduced to being a poor, alcoholic old lady on a farm and raising geese to make ends meet, only to find herself back in the limelight when she fabricates a story about witnessing a murder that soon lands her son, played by Jack Pickford, in jail as a suspect. Variety raved about Louise in this film, stating, a sweet picture which will principally become known for the performance of Louise Dresser. It is nothing less than brilliant and unquestionably the peak of Miss Dresser's screen career to date. Louise followed The Goose Woman with an even larger hit, The Eagle, in which she starred as Tsarina Catherine the Great, opposite Rudolph Valentino, and has some amazing and often hilarious scenes in which she tries to squash her growing attraction to his title character, only to find herself becoming increasingly attracted to him. Variety noted that Louise Dresser girl as the Tsarina certainly does handle herself superbly. The Eagle was the 10th biggest box office hit of 1925. Louise starred in 9 more films in 1926 and 1927, including Padlocked with Lois Moran and The Third Degree with Dolores Costello. 1928 proved to be perhaps Louise's most successful year in the movies. She starred in 2 Final Silence before making a splash in her Talkie debut. Silently, She starred with Corinne Griffith and Charles Ray in the delightful The Garden of Eden, as a penniless baroness who takes in a younger singer and treats her to a lavish vacation at a resort, getting her praise and variety. Next, Louise starred with Rudolph Schildkraut in A Ship Comes In, a sweeping drama of an immigrant family's trials and tribulations when making a new life in America in the 19-teens. This film was also a critical and commercial hit, and Louise received a nomination for Best Actress at the first ever Academy Awards for her performance. If that wasn't enough of a success that year, Louise also starred with Madge Bellamy in Fox's 1928 smash hit talkie Mother Knows Best, which got her raves for both her performance and her voice. She then starred with Arthur Lake and Sue Carroll in The Air Circus, and got another rave from the New York Times for her singing in the film. In 1929, Louise had yet another talkie success with June Collier in Not Quite Decent, in which New York Times said her acting, as usual, is intelligent, restrained, and convincing. In 1930, Louise continued starring in films like The Three Sisters and The Mad World, before beginning a screen partnership with a fellow vaudeville and Broadway alum that would take her into a new phase of popularity in her career. That alum was Will Rogers, and their first teaming was 1930s comedy Lightnin', in which they played a bickering married couple that owned a hotel for women waiting for divorces. In this film, as in many of their teamings, Louise played the long-suffering wife of Will's colorful character. This partnership continued in hit films over the next several years, including 1933's State Fair and Dr. Bull, 1934's David Harum, and 1935's The Country Chairman. According to multiple sources, Louise and Will were such a popular couple on the screen that many filmgoers thought they were married in real life. Along with these hits, Louise had other notable films in the 30s, including playing Calamity Jane in the 1931 Western Caught, and appearing as Empress Elizabeth supporting Marlene Dietrich in 1934's The Scarlet Empress. She also starred in a rare villainous role as Catherine Comstock, mother to Miriam Marsh's character in A Girl Under Limberlost in 1934. However, tragedy struck in 1935. Will Rogers was killed in a tragic plane crash. While they weren't actually a couple in real life, Louise was still very close to Will and considered him a dear friend, and according to various sources, his death caused her to want to retire from the movies. She took 2 years off, and in 1937 made one final film appearance in a supporting role in the Claudette Colbert historical drama Maid of Salem. Following her retirement, Louise and Jack Gardner enjoyed a quiet life together at their home in Glendale, California, where she enjoyed gardening and participating in charity work, including working for the Motion Picture Country Home and Hospital. Gardner passed away in 1950. In 1957, at the age of 79, Louise made her only appearance on television to surprise her old vaudeville friend Buster Keaton on his episode of This Is Your Life. Louise lived quietly for the next 8 years and passed away during surgery for an intestinal ailment in 1965 at the age of 87. So we are left with the question, why did Louise Dresser retire after making such a successful transition to the talkies? Well, fortunately, we seem to have that answer. Will Rogers' death depressed her and made her decide that the time had come for her to retire and enjoy a quiet life with her husband. While I'm sure she could have kept going on for years in character roles, Louise may have also seen what had happened to many of her peers in the industry and chose to retire while still playing major supporting roles before slipping into being character bit parts. So she called it quits at age 59. She also had been going pretty much nonstop for close to 45 years in the entertainment industry and definitely deserved a break. Louise, while not as big a star as her peer Marie Dressler, still found an interesting rare niche as the older leading lady star, proving that movie stardom was popular at any age. Fortunately, we have many of Louise's fabulous performances available to watch. Please watch The Goose Woman, The Eagle, A Ship Comes In, and The Garden of Eden, all on YouTube. You can also watch State Fair and The Girl of the Limberlost on YouTube. Here's to you, Louise Dresser. I must thank my sources for this episode: M. Allison Kipler of the Jewish Women's Archive, James Wethington of Famous Hoosiers, and Trav Estes' No Applause, Just Throw Money, the book that made vaudeville famous. Please like and subscribe or follow this account if you want to learn more about the history of silent film stars whose stardom lasted only briefly in the talkies. Up next, join me as I cover the silent talkie career of Mary Duncan. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.